Hey, what's up, everyone? We're back to the daily Jace live show. I've had a bit of a break because I've had my own stuff going on in the background. I'm in the middle of exam times, so that's been going. But I'm super excited for the next guest because everyone, when this whole thing went down, everyone went into their own little world and thought, how can they take care of themselves? And obviously, there's priorities where everyone needs to take care of their businesses or their families or financials, or some people have been made redundant. But this person, he thought, how can I make a difference not only for himself, but also the whole country? He thought, what can I do to help those who may be in need during this time? And there sure is a lot of people who do need this help. So happy to bring onto the stage Mr. Pat Macfie.
Hey,
how are you, brother?
Jace, the daily Jace. I made it, bro. I feel like I cracked it now. I cracked it.
Bro, I just bring on smarter people than myself, and then that's how I get the viewers.
We'll see if that hypothesis holds true by the end of this interview.
That's the one. For people who don't know you and what your story is, give the quick five of what you're all about. So you were born, and then what happened?
I was born,
and then
I lived a great life, and I continue to live a great life. Now, look, I was born in Wellington, young fella, and then I think the first big moment in my life was when my parents got divorced when I was about 9 years old. And so I went from living quite a privileged life to my mum being a solo mum with 2 kids, living in a housing corp area in Hamilton, and her working 2 jobs. Until, well, basically, I left home for university. And so, I'm thankful for that life because I learned a lot on the street, and it taught me a lot about human nature, and it just taught me a lot about people. And so I think that was the first big milestone in my life. Coming up to Auckland and seeing a different sort of environment. Otherwise, I probably would have been breaking into your house, stealing your television.
So you went to uni up in Auckland?
Bro, I was there for a couple of months, and I dropped out. Yeah. I got the student allowance. Then I used the money to import some fake Nikes from Mexico and sell them down at the Otara markets to make some money, because the commerce degree just wasn't doing it for me. I was just going to practice my own kind of commerce from day dot. And so
go into the underground commerce.
Yeah. So I dropped out of uni. My dad was in the hospo trade, so I came up through the hospitality trade, and just learned the basics of process at scale, from making 500 bacon and lettuce tomato sandwiches at a Cobb & Co restaurant in Taupo on the holidays with my dad. Those principles taught me everything that I needed to know about scaling any process. And so got involved with media around 1995, made a career out of media to the extent that it took me to the role of global director of media at Xero, where I lead a team around the world, responsible for the brand narrative of that business. Went from 500,000 to 2.2 million customers in the time that I was there. Needed a bigger challenge, needed to challenge myself, stepped out, created Indigo, design innovation company, July last year, and had some great clients, was having another just fantastic run, doing work around the world, applying all the all the frameworks and approaches that Xero had utilized to become very successful, high growth company globally, and applying that to medium-sized businesses. And then COVID came. And then
wham, COVID.
Wham.
Yeah, spanner in the works.
Yeah, so, here we are, bro.
Yeah, here we are. And how's the brain? How's everything mentally for you? You've been rocking and rolling.
Bro, I'm good. I'm solid as. Good. I'm solid as because my why is solid as, and it galvanizes me. It galvanized me through the whole process, and it's easy. It's interesting what you touched on in your introduction. Talking about when the shit hit the fan. We'd actually seen it coming for a minute, probably 3 to 4 weeks out. We knew this was going to be massive impact on small business. And so we started to get ready, and we thought we were ready. And then when it actually happened, I remember it was Friday the 13th that we thought, okay, we've got our shit in order. We're going to be okay. If this goes down into lockdown in a couple of weeks, like, I think we're going to be good. And then over the course of that weekend, by the time we got in on Monday, we'd had over $500,000 worth of work put on pause or just stopped entirely. And we were closing a round of seed investment, and the 4 remaining investors pulled out. And all of a sudden, it's all just the writings on the wall. And so, you're just like, what the hell do we do now? Like so many other businesses out there.
Crazy. What was the point that you went from realizing all the shit is going down and then coming up with Manaki? Or first of all, let's talk about what is Manaki for those who don't know what it is, and then we'll get on to that question.
Yeah, so www.manaki.io. It's an online advisory platform that has New Zealand's leading business people, like people that have grown and scaled incredible businesses in New Zealand and around the world, who have all made their time available free of charge to answer business questions, to give business advice to anybody that turns up to the platform and asks a question. What it's created and what it's become since we've launched that is, a knowledge base. The platform itself now, it isn't just the application or the website. It's the content that we produce on a daily basis, the lives, everything that we do across social media, that's the platform. And so what we're trying to do now is just more completely solve the problems that small businesses face by, supporting them through that whole journey of, should I have a problem and I need to figure out a solution? I'll get this advice from these incredible guys. Now I'm formulating my solution, and now I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to get someone else to help me. And then now I've implemented the solution, and we can begin to see what the results are of those things that we've been doing. And so we've seen a lot of successful results through that process now. In our next challenge, although we've created a bit of scale, I think we're about 66,000 small businesses on the platform now.
Holy moly.
Is to create real scale, because that's actually just a drop in the ocean. We're only 9 weeks in, and so we know that the lockdown, isn't it? Like, the lockdown is just the beginning. I think there was a false sense of reality, of things turning back to reality, returning back to normal as we go into level 2. What people are starting to see now is that the writing is actually on the wall, and it's a long journey back. So we're going to be there for the whole journey. That's what Manaki is. Manaki,
bam. That's why you're on. That's so crazy. 66,000 businesses reaching out to you. How do you filter all that? Like, they're contacting you with problems, they need help, they need solutions. How do you filter that down into a process so that they can all get what they need and you can help have those conversations?
Yeah, I mean, our MVP hypothesis is that we could categorize, those business problems, find advisors, probably a half a dozen to a dozen for each category, and in a timely manner over the course of a day, provide that small business with 3 to 5 really high quality answers. And when you think about the mechanics of that from a platform perspective, it's really just driving scale into the platform and then being able to put the question in front of the right person to get the answer up in the appropriate matter of time. So to be honest with you, bro, that's actually really quite easy. What we need to think about, though, as we go forward is, our experts are really busy people. And then so, how do we manage the load as the load increases and we begin to scale? So we're looking at new user profiles and bringing in new types of users onto the platform that are incentivized through the end game, which is to provide a paid service at the end of it all to somebody that needs a service. But Manaki, overall, the advisory segment of it will always be free.
Sick. So if that was the easy bit, what's the most challenging thing that you've faced over the last 2 months?
The most challenging thing was the decision to do something, right?
Yeah.
You lose that money and you lose that investment, and your natural inclination is to go, okay, batten down the hatches, eliminate all unnecessary fixed costs, look at where we can make savings in other places, have a human resource plan to reduce people's wages to 80%. Then if it doesn't look any better and we can't generate anything, look at first round of redundancy. Second, what's the core team that we can continue with that if we get down to 3 people because we're 14. So you run all of those scenarios, right? But then I guess it's just Indigo, our company, we're a design and innovation company. And there's just something like a global pandemic, like it doesn't come along like every day.
Yeah.
And so the challenge and the opportunity to test ourselves in the face of that is as fucked up as this seems, was actually really quite appealing. We're like, wow, we say we're an innovation company. Innovate now, mofos. Like, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Are you gonna talk shit? Or are you actually gonna do something?
Yeah.
So there's that. And there was this dedication to our team. Like, my work at small business, I work with small business in my career, especially at Xero, has just given me a real empathy. And I've owned small businesses myself for that journey. And the journey of a small business person is fucking hard. It's hard. And you do it because it's about self-determination. It's about, self-actualization. It's about living life on your own terms and not part of the fucking system. So, you make that choice and you have to take all the sacrifices that come along with that. And so that's hard enough. But throw a global pandemic when you can't do anything and on top of that. And so, like, I just had this immediate thought, as bad as this is for me, it's fucking bad for everybody.
Yeah.
And if we're going to innovate, let's innovate for everybody. Never mind just innovating for myself. Like, that's the traditional approach. But if we want to really back the mantras that we have written on the wall and on our website that say, like, we do shit that moves the world forward, then we're going to do it or what? And so it's really a test of everything, every process, every framework that we had, because we got basically stuff all money. Every bit of money that we use to launch Manaki is days of employment we take away from our staff, right? And so there's pressure, bro, because you got all these people whose families and children are dependent on you. You're feeding them. And then so you have to decide to take that risk. And so you have to be really calculated about taking that risk, because if you fail, then this just is not just bad for me. This is bad for everybody. And so, we had to get comfortable with that pain real quick and understand that, okay, this is what's on the table, and be real comfortable with and transparent with my team and going, guys, this is the financial runway that we've got left. If we don't do something, we all lose our jobs anyway. So we need to act. But we're not just going to try and do something for ourselves. Our hypothesis is that by putting the well-being of others ahead of our own selves, that we can create a community and a movement that's going to get some traction, that down the road will hopefully provide us with enough funding to keep you all employed. You won't even have to take a haircut on your salaries, and we'll come out of this better than we were before.
Yes, that balance.
Yeah, that hypothesis has been proved to be true. So we tested it and came out the other side right.
Yes, that balance between commerce and community. We've got a question from the crowd. They have MacArthur. Hi, chaps. Will 4 weeks at level 1 have a negative impact on your business? Yes. Or perhaps even force restructure or closure? And if so, how? I think we already touched on it, but do you want to go on it further, Pat?
For my business?
Yeah.
No, it won't have an effect. It won't affect me at all.
I help organise large-scale junior sports events around the country. The event sector has been hit hard.
Absolutely.
We're pretty much waiting on what's going to happen with the government and when we're going to hit level 1. Yesterday, we got informed that professional events can run at multiple groups of 100 people. So that's a step in the right direction, because we might be able to structure everything. But our events are in September. So we're sort of on the brink of seeing what the government does in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to inform all those junior teams whether we're going ahead on the 10th of June. That's the deadline we've given ourselves and announced to them. But we're playing this game where we just have to wait and see. Yes,
why did you choose the 10th of June?
10th of June, we decide that about a couple of weeks ago, and we thought that would give us a couple of cycles for the government to make further announcements, whether we're going to jump down to level 1, and then from there we could have an informed decision, and teams can recollect themselves, and because rugby is starting up in the community at the moment, and the clubs will have a better understanding of where they're at. So that's why we decide then, and also the teams need quite a bit of lead-up time to come to our festivals, because they're quite big and they need to organise accommodation and transport and all the rest of it. So that's the reason for the 10th of June. So yes, we've been affected. We will be running next year. We're lucky we won't face closure, but definitely it reframes everything with our thinking and how we will operate moving forward.
I don't even. Everything's different. My business is going to be the same business that it was going in. It's different now. It's like
the rules have changed.
I've got a new business. I was a service business before. I'm a product business now. So,
what's been I guess there's been a lot of problems out there with businesses, but what have you been hearing from the SME community? What's been the top 2 or 3 things that they've been struggling with from the Manaki, or what you've been hearing?
Yeah, there's a few things. It's like you see patterns. And so the first pattern we saw is that, when lockdown was announced, there was just a mad scramble. And it was just survival, and it was just panic. And it was just like, what are we going to do? Like, how's my business going to survive? Like, how am I going to talk to my customers? And then like the wage subsidy announcement came out, and they're like, okay, how do I get the wage subsidy? Why hasn't my wage subsidy come through? And then once the wage subsidy comes through, and then it's just like, okay, what about my office? I'm having troubles negotiating with my landlord. And then once they suss the landlord out, they're just like, okay, what about utility companies? And then like, what do we do? Do we have to pay them? And so there's just been this cycle of these questions that have kind of mapped people's level of understanding about where they're at. And so that's just continued, and the general sentiment through that first probably month was just about survival. And what we found out is that people quickly realized that they have massive gaps in their digital capability. And so what we've seen as a result of that is just this whole new group of people come online, people that didn't even know how to use Facebook. And they're actually a much older, more mature group. About 25% of people that ask questions on Manaki are over 65 years of age.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that's been mirrored in the data that we've seen from the New Zealand Made Products Group as a partner of ours. And they've seen just a whole new generation of people move online that didn't even have Facebook accounts or didn't use Facebook for anything else but connecting to family, now beginning to ask, how can I sell a product? Like, how can I get online? Like, how do I reach my customers? Like, how do I do all these things? So digital capability, definitely a big one. The other thing I think is starting to come up now is people that have lost their jobs are starting to ask, like, okay, how do I start a business? And so we're starting to see this trend around startup questions, and people, I have this idea for this, what do you think of that? Because we have so many experienced business people, they're kind of using it as a feedback platform for their startup idea now. So it's interesting, like a couple of weeks ago, we're talking about wage subsidies. Now people are tapping these experts to get their feedback on their startup idea. And so it's just like, because we're so new, there's no pattern, because it's all random. Like it still seems random to us, the things that we can track, we do, but we just keep our ears open and then try to be responsive to where the pain is in the community, and do our best to engineer a solution for that.
Yeah, it's one of my mates, he coined this whole phase that everyone's gone through, it boomers to zoomers. Like everyone hit digital. It was like panic, and people had to restructure because they had to. It's an interesting thing that you mentioned about how people have to start thinking how more entrepreneurially, because people are low on cash and they have to start their own businesses. I guess there's a bit of a mental shift that happens as well, where you have to back yourself and really think about what you want your lifestyle to look like and how you're going to build your your empire or your business or organization. It's quite a huge leap for a lot of people, and a lot of people might be thinking, how do I actually build a business? What do I need to do? Because I've always been an employee and I've just been made redundant and the country's low on jobs. What have you got any advice there? Because you've been through it, you've built Indigo.
It's just so, there's this fundamentals, right? The number one thing is like, should I be starting a business at all? Should I actually be doing it, right? Or could my time be spent reskilling myself through online courses? Or like, you have to ask yourself a really serious question. And, the first gate that you kind of have to get through is that, do I have a product or service that anybody wants? And test it. And then, determine from the outcome of that test that there's enough scale there to provide you with half an income, a quarter of an income, a full-time income, whatever the case may be. But please don't take your last bit of savings and bankroll a hunch, right? Use these digital platforms, use Facebook ads, use Instagram ads, use LinkedIn ads to validate whether you have a product that people want on a micro scale, to get an understanding by tapping into global audiences and behaviors and interests, to be able to form really highly target audiences that represent the segment that you want to go after. Test, refine. Spend $500, not $5,000 to figure out if you got something that anybody wants. And then if you feel confident after that, then, you can begin to think about, operating a business. But you really need to get understanding, like that fundamental thing of product market fit. It never goes away, right? That's what Manaki is. Manaki is perfect product market fit for a small business crisis, because the first thing you need is advice. What the hell do I do now is the question. Where do I get advice? I go to Google, I go to Mates, I go to social media, I go to YouTube, I go to all these places, go to government websites, go to this, go that. Okay. Now there's this place I can go, and that's actually got all the ballers of business on there. I can ask them as well, formulate a solution. So, you have to be very methodical about that process. Like, everybody's why is kind of the same. I need to eat. That's forget the lofty lifestyle. Yeah, bro. Yeah. The lofty lifestyle. I want a Lamborghini. I want a yacht. I want to be an influencer. Like, everybody's just thinking, like, how do I eat? What's my why? Dinner.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's that fundamental now. I don't think it's about those big things. It's about, finding that fit that aligns to who you are as a person, being able to make a living off of that while you learn how to do business. If you haven't been in business before, then figure out some stuff, but do that while you got some money coming in. Yeah,
it's so true. Do you think that everyone can be an entrepreneur? Do you think no? So what, for those who can't be, what can be the train of thought for them? What steps can they make in order, if they're not entrepreneurial or they can't be a business owner just because of how they're wired, and nothing wrong with that, what can they do in times like this?
I think you have to look to where the opportunities lie, just like business, but you're the product, right? So, how am I positioned for the next generation of employment, or the next big career shift, the next move in society and culture and technology, whatever it is that, you have that grounding in, and be able to find a pathway and develop a plan for yourself to remain relevant and to be able to grow into those spaces, so that you can build a career inside of those spaces, inside of those places where you have this foundation of domain expertise. And if you find after you've done that analysis that I'm in the wrong spot, then you need to move right now. But you need to do that in a manner, like, I'm just not a big advocate for just people making rash decisions and like fucking following their heart. And I talk to too many businesses and business people. They go, yeah, I wanted to be like a creator, and so I followed my heart, and then like all of a sudden I went from an $80,000 salary to like I made $40,000, and now my wife hates me, and now they go, this pressure in my life. That's just bad planning, bro. That's just bad planning. And you need to be just as well planned with your career, when your career is your business. That's the way that you earn money, as you are when you're running a business. So those principles kind of the same. But, it's obviously the risk factor that makes it a lot different from an entrepreneur than somebody that's in a 9 to 5, building a career and a direction for their life that way.
For sure. We've had a follow-up question from Thea. Labor has had a huge focus on employees and keeping people employed. However, there's not been a lot of support for businesses themselves for overheads, etc. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the government is focused on keeping people in jobs. And I know first, I can only speak from my personal experience.
Yeah.
And what I know is that the wage subsidy has helped me to keep my people employed while I innovate, right? And so I'm very thankful for the subsidy. Yes, there's nothing for overheads, but the first act that we did was looked at our business model and go, how do we cut fixed costs? And we just had to make some bold decisions and go, okay, well, we've got it out in our lease. We love our building. It's part of our culture. But if I can keep more people employed, then I'm going to get rid of this building. And so, I do that. Well, if I've got XYZ number of company cars and we're all at home, well, we don't need those anymore. Let's just return them and deal with the fallout of that afterwards if they're leased or whatever the case may be. So, it's just, I don't think there's one answer, because the pattern for all the businesses out there and the journeys that they're on respectively is just so different. If you're in retail and you're in tourism, of course, it's been extremely hard. If you're a services-based business, then you can find a way to make your service relevant. If you're essential services, then you haven't been impacted as much. But if you could find a way that you weren't essential services, when you weren't essential services, to make yourself essential, then, maybe you've done okay out of the situation. There are businesses that have thrived in the middle of this right now. And so, this is just my personal, my personal perspective. I don't want to have dependency on the government. I want self-determination. That's why I went into business. I'm not standing here with my beanie going, "Can you help me save my business?" I know there's a global pandemic here, and people are dying. And I place a higher value on human life because I can always start my flipping business again. So, but that's just me, and people may not vibe with that, but that's just where I'm at. I can't speak for everybody because everybody's situation is so different, and there's just so many businesses failing, and it's fucking hard all over. So I can't speak from my experience.
Absolutely. And like you say, people need to put food on the table. They have to take care of those number one needs. As soon as they get that taken care of, then they can start looking further abroad. It's we're pretty lucky that it's come at a time where we have technological capabilities where you can descale. Like you said, you dropped your office overheads and all that jazz. Like if this had in the 70s, 60s, when we didn't have all that tech, we'd be in for a world of pain.
It's just like every situation is different, and so I really empathize with the situation of the government to try to do what's best, in this situation. But the reality is that it hasn't worked out for a lot of people. It's worked out okay for us, but I wasn't dependent on the government. I never had that mindset. I was going to find. We're not an essential service, bro. A design innovation company is essential service? No.
Yeah.
So, but the question is, how do I make myself essential in this crisis? And that's what the hypothesis for Manaki is.
Yeah, it's totally. It's nice when, I guess, there's two types of people: when people take full ownership of what they're going on and their journey, and making sure that they take care of the things they need to take care of. And it means it's going to hurt, it's going to suck you, so you have to put in a lot of hard effort. But then there's the other groups of people that, I guess, tend to look for externalities that are going on and what's happening. And
I don't fault anyone, bro. I don't fault anybody. I don't fault anybody because our situations are so different.
Yeah.
If you feel that way, that's 100% valid. And your business is closed and you can't open and it's failing, that's 100% valid. I can't poo-poo any of that. For real, that's the real situation.
For sure. What do you think? What's what's the best outcome from all of this, from COVID-19? What do you think is the most positive thing that has come from this whole situation, from your point of view?
Oh man, I think that the thing that I'm interested in going forward is the economics of caring. We've kind of coined this phrase internally at Manaki. We just call it Manaki-nomics. And that is people in a position to give of their time, their expertise, their money, please give. You know, if you're in a position to help, please help. Whether that's emotional or mental support, please give a call to a small business person. If you can help somebody out through a network or connection, say like what we did with the Cookie Project guys, and we helped them find a new location so that, you know, a bunch of kids with you know, Down syndrome and physical and mental disabilities could continue to get paid the living wage because we can find them a kitchen. Let's do that. Or the Downlights project, you know, they help people with disabilities into employment, and we help them close their funding round. Pledge Me found, like, help them find $35,000 in 2 hours.
I saw that one.
Yeah,
incredible.
And it just happened. And so if we can help, then we'll help, and we'll do that with no expectation of receiving anything in return. And that signals that there's just like a different mindset at play here, that, you know, caring for others has equity, and that if you can give and you can lift someone up, then we can all rise up. But if you don't give and you can, then there's people that missed out because you chose not to. And so that's some of the issues that I have with big business right now that have done stuff all. It actually pisses me off a little bit that we're kind of the people that have had to do this, that we're the people that started it up. Like, you know, I just think about the big banks.
Yeah.
They're pumping $1 billion each offshore every year. And then what the hell? I find out that they've lent $3.9 billion less than the average amount that they normally do to small businesses, even though the government had guaranteed 80% of those loans, and they still lend less. And then they put up these bullshit like help portals, like communities, like they cost them a couple of $100,000 to make it look like they're giving help. Stuff for you guys, man. You know, just all these types of people. Yeah, it's messed up. It's messed up, man. It's messed up. And I hope people stay woke to these types of things, and they begin to think more about where they place their money, who they support, because you know, a lot of those businesses are just, they're losing their social license, they're losing their credibility as organizations. And so what I hope is that we have a greater sense of care, that we offer more support to people that can help do help, and that we can show that has tangible outcomes, and that everybody rises up as a result of it.
Yeah, I had Sam Stubbs on the podcast a few weeks back. He's the director of Simplicity, and what I really like about his model is that it's moral and ethical investing. They're non-for-profit investment fund. It's pretty incredible. And so, like, you compare that model to the traditional banking model, and he's always donating to charities through his organization. Like, it's epic.
Amazing, eh?
You know?
Yeah, it's so epic.
There's so many cool businesses that are floating around, like yourselves, Simplicity. There's all these cool things happening at the community level, and normally, like you said, it comes from those smaller businesses rather than the big bankrollers and it's stuff.
Big insurance companies, like, you know, changing the terms of their coverage, like, just
it's insane.
Insane, man.
Do you think that the world is moving, or at least the New Zealand business community is moving towards more ethical responses, not just from COVID-19, but just in general? Businesses are thinking more along those lines. How can we help people? How can we give people a hand up? How can we use our business and what we do as an organization to drive the greater good? Or do you think businesses are more typically profit-driven? Like, do you think people have it in their psyche more than 10 years ago, say?
I don't even know if things were applicable right now that were, like, you know, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So let alone like 10 years ago. My observation is that large organizations will try to reestablish the status quo as soon as possible. they'll just want everything back to normal as soon as possible. The financial systems, we want them back to normal as soon as possible. Like, you know, so the incumbent system will look to keep their system incumbent, right? Where is there change? There could be change in smaller organizations like ours, like Simplicity, like so many others, like New Zealand Made Products, like, you know, all these groups that are attracting enough scale that if we can, you know, engineer a movement based around some solutions that provide some frameworks for how to do this different, and we can actually execute on those, perhaps we can create change. But it's certainly not straightforward. And there's a big difference between, yeah, man, it's going to be so different after this, and then not doing anything, than there is to actually going, okay, I'm going to make a difference now, because it's not going to change by itself.
Yeah, and New Zealand has a pretty epic platform to, I guess, springboard off. Obviously, it's going to be hard moving forward, but it's hard globally moving forward. And we have this isolated piece of the world on our 2 islands, and we've managed to somehow beat COVID pretty damn quickly, and we're almost the gold standard to the rest of the world. How can we use that to drive the New Zealand brand, but also help people rise to this challenge of taking Kiwi businesses to the world?
I think it could be the other way around, that the world could come to Kiwi businesses, actually, because as you know, you see the scenes in the US or in South America or still in the UK, like major financial centers are nowhere near being through the recovery cycle to the extent that we are. And so, you know, I know from talking to people in the creative industries that, you know, there are a lot of big film productions that are looking to move a lot more of their production down here. So I would be thinking, if you have intellectual property inside of your product or inside of your business that's applicable to organizations in some of those larger international markets, that, you know, we should be reaching out to those guys and going, look, open for business down here. And, you know, let's see what we can make of those opportunities. I don't think it's maybe the messages to the world that we're open. And this is the nation of innovators. And that's evidenced by, look, no more people in hospital, and you know, if you want to come get some, whatever your industry is, your area is, we've got somebody that's got a solution for you to keep you going.
Yeah, and even if those experts come over here, obviously if they're COVID free, but then they can create jobs, create businesses. That's awesome for our society, for our country, and it shows the world that we're open, like you say. It's pretty incredible. What do you think? So we're 2 months down the line from lockdown, and what the world looks different. What do you think New Zealand looks like in a year or two's time? Like, how will New Zealand look compared to, say, 6 months ago when everything was happy and merry?
It looked different. A lot of businesses would have shut up. A lot of businesses will have failed.
Yeah.
And, you know, really by no fault of their own.
Yeah.
And that's actually quite heartbreaking. So maybe we'll see a bunch more businesses start up. You know, people that have become unemployed, move into different careers. You know, this is when it actually depends a lot more on the government and the long-term strategy of how we can, you know, mobilize people back into the workforce that have lost their jobs. How we can help businesses that have made it through relatively unscathed to grow, become high growth, scale. Like, you know, there's not one game plan. There's, like, you know, multiple things that have to go on simultaneously to really get a recovery happening.
Yeah.
So I think a year, we're still in recovery mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we see.
What if you were in government? I don't know if you mess with politics or not, or follow everything. But if you were pulling the strings, what would you like to see?
You know, I really don't have an opinion on that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like.
That's fair enough.
Like, that's bullshit. Like, I'm never going to be in government, so why do I care? I don't.
Nah,
What I
cool.
care about is I care about the 14 people in my team and keeping them employed. I care about helping those small businesses, 66,000 or so that have come to our platform to access the best advice possible. Like, we need to stay operational. I can't afford myself the luxury to put my head in the clouds and
that's cool.
I want to hypothesize about some hardcore shit that's going to change some stuff in the ground. Like, to give somebody a financial plan to manage their way through the next 8 weeks, crafted by the best bloody financial consultant that we can find on the planet for you.
Yeah,
that's the type of stuff that I hope would happen.
Yeah, have you through getting in touch with 66,000 businesses? What's been the top 3 best stories that have come out of it when they had crisis and then they overcame it? What were
gosh, we hear them every day.
Love to hear that.
We hear them every day. And actually, I have one here that someone's just slacked me while I was on my phone. Let me just see if I can pull it up right now. And if it doesn't have any of their personal information, I'll share it with you. Well, give me 1 second. Here we go. Does it say their name? Okay, I won't see their name then. This is shared on our internal Slack at 10:39 a.m. this morning. Good morning. I wish to register my thanks to the 3 retail industry advisors for their advice given on reopening our store at level 2. We reopened at normal retail price, no discounting as advised, and the response from our customers has been huge. Out of over 774 customers who have crossed our door over 13 days, I can only remember one customer asking, where are the opening specials? We also managed to hit a rate of 75%, which is higher than normal trading. I cannot remember who the 3 advisors were, but please pass on my thanks for their assistance. XYZ business owner from Hamilton East.
That's epic. Like that. Yeah. That's like when my mind just goes to those are people. You're through Manaki. They're people that, like you say, through no fault of their own, they had hardships thrown at them. Probably the biggest hardship they've ever had through business, and they've managed to overcome it. It's a pretty awesome stuff. And if you're getting those every day, it's pretty amazing.
Like I got a whole bunch of them. Like we actually collect them in a drive folder. They're like thousands of them.
Sick.
There's thousands of them. That's why I don't want to get caught up in like the political debate. Like there's enough people debating that. I hope they come to a fucking good plan. But I'm just gonna do shit. I'm in the trenches, bro. So like just hand-to-hand combat here. So that's what
Put on the boxing gloves, jump in the ring.
No gloves, bro. There's no gloves down here. This is just in the mud, bro. It's just in the mud.
Both.
There's a big hairy giant in front of you, bro, and like you taking pot shots at each other, and like I hope I got more endurance than him.
That's the one. Oh, Pat, it's been awesome. Just in closing, if you've got one message for the viewers out there, what would it be?
Manaki atu, manaki mai. That means to extend manaki to other people and to give without thinking about yourself. And if you can do that, do that. And who knows the myriad of ways that positive energy, that good vibes, that act of giving will return to you. But my word of encouragement is if you can help. Because like you don't want to be the dude that just stands there and watch your mate get a hiding. And then be like, why didn't you help me?
Hard.
Yeah. You want to be the dude that gave him a hand.
Awesome stuff. How can people find you?
www.manaki.io. www.manaki.io is a platform. Go ask some questions. Go get some help. If you need help,
there it is.
Go check it out. There's an awesome love letter from a whole bunch of New Zealanders that really, really care there as well. Ask a question, post it anonymously, do whatever you want. Bunch of categories in there. Get engaged. Don't be afraid to not only ask your question, but when it comes to sort of formulating your solution, ask for help to execute your solution. I saw one guy actually he was on there and he's like, I got this business in the food and beverage space, blah, 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 blah. I got this app idea. And Stefan Lepionka, the founder of Charlie's Orange Juice, said, yeah, give me a call. Here's my number. Like,
that's so good.
That's so crazy. And so that's what you can do, but you got to know how to, like most things, make best use of the tech. So ask for help, then ask for advice, but then ask for help on your solution. Check us out on Instagram. We are Manaki. Same on LinkedIn. Same on Twitter. Same on Facebook. Lots of lives happening every day. Had some incredible people through. Had Machu from 660 on earlier this week on our Instagram live.
I saw that. I checked it out.
Yeah, so cool. Cool guy. Yeah. He's got a new model for the business industry. We had Alexia Hubertu yesterday. She's amazing. Girl boss. Like just so many great people. I think we're shouting out small businesses tonight. So if you got a small business and you want to get a shout out to the audience, use our platform to try and sell more shit and just jump on in there, get amongst.
Pat, you're one gnarly character. Thanks so much for jumping on. You're such a giving dude. I've only spoken to you for 45 minutes and you're epic, man. So if you ever need anything from me, we're connected on LinkedIn now. I really appreciate what you and the Manaki team are doing for New Zealand business. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. You're amazing.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
We'll catch you soon. You too. Stay safe. What an awesome dude. He's he's like, I just reached out to him on LinkedIn and said, bro, you're doing something real epic. I want to have you on the show. He knew nothing about me. He's like, done. Send me a link or whatever. And 2 weeks later, we jumped into the podcast. So it's cool to hear stories like that, because in a time when so many people are feeling at loss, or they're going through hardships, through their business challenges or their personal challenges, it's epic to see one organization or one person start with an idea, execute on it, and have massive impact. 66,000 businesses. Epic, epic, epic. All right, that's all from me. I'll catch you all very soon, hopefully. I've got exams, so I won't be on the live as regular as usual, but after those have been wrapped up, I'll be doing the interviews, jumping on the podcast. You can ask the questions, I'll give you the answers, and we'll go from there. All right, everyone, peace out. Catch you soon.